And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. And in the Alaska weather-related headlines, we have a winter storm system. It's mainly a frontal boundary that's causing problems across the southwest in through the interior with wind, snow, and an icy mix of precipitation from the Yukon-Kuskokwim deltas on up through the central eastern interior that will continue into the day Wednesday, especially for central and eastern areas. By Thursday, we have the full moon, December 4th, and this active storm track with lows coming up out of the North Pacific into the Gulf and then spreading into the Panhandle will pick up again starting this weekend and continue into next week. And with the circulation around those lows and with strong high pressure building up in northwest Canada and northern parts of Alaska, it's going to draw down bitterly cold Arctic air with strong northeast winds that could have air temperatures in the 20s, 30s, even 40 below, with wind chills colder than that. And we'll start to see that showing up across the mainland interior this weekend. It could likely continue next week into the following weekend, so it could be a prolonged cold period. And looking at what we have here for FAA webcams up there along the lower Yukon coast. Blizzard conditions at times this Tuesday afternoon, 13 degrees at Newtok with snow and blowing snow. The snow has been heavy in that area, including Scammon Bay, Tuksuk Bay. Now, as you go east, Bethel has had a bit of a lull early this afternoon with just overcast skies, but the potential remains where there is an ice storm warning for additional freezing rain at least this evening into tonight. And as we go further east, McGrath, overcast, that will likely pick up some snow that could mix with a little bit of freezing rain. And then further east, the Fort Yukon will be picking up some snow, especially tonight and through the day on Wednesday, where the temperature there this afternoon is 16. That is going to be balmy because by early next week, daytime temperatures are going to be well below zero. And we're going to see some stronger winds setting up right here through the mainland interior. But before that transition happens, we have this front that's draped across from around Kuskokwim Bay to McGrath to just the north side of the Alaska Range. And it's along and just north of this front that most of the precipitation has been falling. The circulation around that front, and it's taking the moisture that comes up out of the North Pacific. It's going to begin to break down tomorrow on Wednesday, but before then, right now, I think the snow has reached its maximum intensity here in the lower Yukon Delta coastline, where there has been blizzard conditions at times today. Still will snow hard into this Tuesday evening, but the snow will begin to diminish Wednesday morning into the afternoon, and that'll be the case. The snow will push northeastward across the central and eastern interiors. There could be a little bit of freezing rain, make it as far north as McGrath and up around Fairbanks, but the bulk of the precipitation in the central and eastern interior tonight and through the day Wednesday will be in the form of snow. Further south of the Alaska Range, there still could be some pockets of light rain or light freezing rain in the Mat-Su Valley and around the Anchorage Bowl. Just the warmer temperatures, we've seen temperatures above freezing in south central, so combined with a little bit of rain that's fallen has made for either very slushy road conditions or in some cases the side streets, some of the walkways and driveways are very slippery, so be aware of that. Then we have a special weather statement for this upcoming weekend. Pattern of storminess coming into the Gulf. There's the potential for heavy snowfall along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the northern Panhandle as a low comes up into the western Gulf on Friday. And that's the beginning of an overall pattern shift where we will see some stronger lows come into the Gulf, potentially producing heavier snow, parts of the Panhandle and into the coastal mountains here along the Gulf Coast. And that's going to set up strong northeast winds across the interior as high pressure builds to the north. This is going to set up the mainland for a big chill down, and we're going to have air temperatures below zero with wind chills much below zero, dangerously low wind chills in some cases here, especially as we get into the later weekend and next week. But looking at the satellite imagery today, we find Here's another push of moisture coming northward. That's going to enhance the precipitation, at least for tonight into early Wednesday morning. Low pressure down back through here, the eastern Aleutians. And as we look at the weather map, late tonight, early on Wednesday morning, we have a low 980 low just south of the eastern Aleutians. This near stationary front is going to gradually sag southward through the rest of the week. It'll eventually end up near the Gulf Coast here as we get into Friday. But in the meantime, this has been the boundary where we've had the heavier snow here and blowing snow and blizzard conditions in the lower Yukon, where at times we get a little bit of freezing rain coming up into Bethel and on up toward McGrath and maybe as far east as Fairbanks. And then for Wednesday, the mechanism that circulations around this front that maintain that snow band begins to break down, especially Wednesday afternoon. Still some lingering areas of snow, mainly lighter snow across the central eastern interior. The low begins to fill just southeast of the eastern Aleutians and the North Pacific with this occluded front kind of bumping up along the Gulf Coast and transitioning to more of a trough. And the old frontal boundary makes it down to near the Gulf Coast and just kind of sits there as high pressure builds over northern parts of the state and into northwest Canada. And we'll be watching another low coming up out of the North Pacific into the western Gulf by Friday. And this is going to set the stage for a rather stormy pattern along the Gulf Coast and Panhandle that could include episodes of some heavy rain, coastal areas, low elevations with heavier snow in the northern Panhandle along the northeastern Gulf Coast, strong winds, and then meanwhile this high will begin to build not just over eastern Siberia but over northwestern Canada. Some of the forecast models eventually want to build a 1050 high, which is a strong high for early winter. And we're going to see beginning Friday hints of stronger northeast winds beginning to build, but those northeast winds are really going to increase later this weekend and just pump and push that Arctic air, sub-zero cold air across the mainland all the way down here into the YK deltas and Bristol Bay. So this is going to be a big healthy push of cold air, early winter cold. So be ready for that. Have some extra means of backup for any heating, extra wood for the fire, because it's going to definitely be notable here as we get into next week and the following weekend. So here's morning lows could be in the teens and even 23 below there at Anatuvik Pass. We have temperatures near freezing Anchorage Bowl. We have readings up inland from Bristol Bay, including Dillingham, King Salmon in the mid-30s. Lows outer Panhandle coast, lower 40s. Including Craig and up to Sitka. And then Wednesday afternoon, you could see some 40s make it up to maybe about King Salmon, 41 for a high at Homer. Anchorage Bowl, mid-30s still. Could hit 50 here at Sitka down through Klawock. And then in the north, it stays cold. Along the Arctic coast, north slope, spine of the Brooks Range, sub-zero temperatures. And notice the cold building Thursday morning. 35 below forecast for the Yukon Flats. 34 below there at Arctic Village, and northeast winds are going to drive that colder air southwestward so that it will be coming down the Yukon Valley and the Kuskokwim valleys here. You'll really notice it Friday, Saturday into Sunday, and there'll be some really, really cold temperatures setting up here over the east central mainland as we get into the latter part of the weekend. And eventually this colder air does push southward. Low temperatures or high temperatures Thursday afternoon below zero, highs only around 20 below up here around the Yukon Flats and Arctic Village. We could still see a 50-degree reading on Prince of Wales Island, but back here along the Gulf Coast, still a 40-degree reading around Homer, 44 at Kodiak City, and trailing out along the Alaska Peninsula to high of 44 at Unalaska. But notice the colder air is beginning to seep southwestward and will overspread this area of the interior southwest, especially west of the Alaska Range. So much colder air coming, and the 6 to 10 day outlook December 8th through the 12th, which takes us into Monday through Thursday of next week. Much below normal temperatures centered on Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula, and that extends back up through the lower middle Yukon Valley, the Tanana Valley. Some very cold air will be building here as we have low pressure over the Gulf that's going to potentially bring heavier snowfall along the Gulf Coast into the especially northern panhandle. So with a low here, high pressure building there, you have strong east-northeast flow coming from northeast to southwest across the mainland, allowing that Arctic air to push southwestward. And so we expect precipitation to be above normal over the panhandle. There'll be cold rain along the at sea level, but you get up in elevation, and as you go up into the northern panhandle, it could fall mainly as some heavier snow. But very dry conditions. We're talking about wind, air temperatures that are sub-zero with wind chills that are dangerously low, with probably some wind chills getting down there, at least down around 50 below, if not colder in a few spots. So stay tuned to later forecasts, because this will be a notable outbreak of colder air for the interior mainland, whereas there's the potential for a couple of heavier snowfalls along the northeastern Gulf Coast and northern panhandle as we go through this weekend and into next week.